Now, just to dive straightly into it and to inspire us with their opening remarks, we have Mr. Amit Saluja. He has been instrumental in driving the COE's initiative to accelerate manufacturing digitalization. As he prepares to share his thought, let's remember the value of co creation in a rapidly evolving world. Sir, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Devashri. I hope, the slide is visible.
It is.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining in. So we were just discussing, so I think it's after a long gap, we are doing a webinar. We all got used to physical, but then considering this is a session where we bring in people from every part of the country and from different industries, I think this always had a merit to do it virtual. So once again, welcome to all. What I will do is I'll just spend maybe 10 quick minutes and just talk about what's really happening in the digitization space, in the manufacturing space, what kind of an situation we have reached in, considering technology has become extremely important. We have been talking about now it's almost a decade, but post-COVID, we all have seen the tech adoption has drastically increased and it has accelerated, but still we have certain challenges which will still exist. So from the current status point of view, here are our thoughts. And I look forward to your feedback and suggestions also, so on what's working and what's not working. But from the current status point of view, I think we have reached to a situation in broadly in every manufacturing company, at least in the large manufacturing segment, while SME is still kind of coming up to the speed. But in the large segment, this digital infrastructure is very much in place. Everyone has state-of-the-art ERP, everyone is using cloud, IT network is in place. So I think from an infrastructure point of view, we all are good. There are a lot of field devices also have been installed, which basically it is giving us data about the operation. So that part also is kind of taken care, while there is some room to kind of do it more. But fairly, I think we are in a good situation from a large company's point of view. Now, from the challenge point of view, I think what we are still seeing is digitization initiatives are being taken more from a short-term challenges point of view. While there are companies who are building the roadmaps and they have a structured plan in place for the digital journey, but still during our interactions with many companies, there are many leaders who are still trying to kind of and work towards the best way of building the digital roadmap. And I think I could see that one of the session also that we have today on the panel discussion is very much focused on this topic on how do we way forward on the building a roadmap. And then lot of the there are a lot of small, or I'll not say small, there are a lot of long list of the challenges which always are there. And the problem happens is the how do you prioritize? Because in every company, when you take inputs from the different manufacturing departments, a big list comes up. The challenge comes up is that not all the things can be addressed because of the budget constraints or the time constraints, resource constraints, correct? So there are many things which goes unaddressed, and that's where it leads to the questions from the manufacturing leaders. Now, how do we get to those? How do we handle many new manufacturing constraints which has come up, especially the post-COVID, like the worker movements have happened, raw material prices have changed, supply chain issues have drastically increased, breakdowns have started becoming more, cost have becoming more, correct? So those are the new constraints that has come up, which is in the mind of now every manufacturing leader. So that's where the focus is. There is also focus that we could see in our interactions is basically moving towards the flexible manufacturing. So how do we respond to those changes? And then from our production planning point of view, the changes in the production planning should be kind of pretty much seamless. And that's where I think every manufacturing leader and the digital leader is talking about it. There's also the discussions which are going on is, do I have the right infrastructure from the future point of view? I know that for the current, yes, we do. We have the right infrastructure, but again, from the future point of view, how well placed we are. And a lot of thoughts on the leveraging the startup ecosystem. Also considering this particular forum that we have now here, we have good participation now from the manufacturing leaders. We have a lot of startups also joining in. We have people from the research organization. So I think we have the whole ecosystem here in this session, and that's where the other sessions that we have will very much focus on how do we leverage the startup ecosystem. So I think that should answer the big questions that we have. Now, so on the framework, so there's a one framework that I've listed on here. This actually came from SIRI, which was made by the Singapore Economic Development Board in collaboration with McKinsey and few other consultants. So that's the framework which was kind of prescribed, and I think this is very powerful. I mean, while it looks simplistic, but I think it really sets the stage for how do we really structure the thing. So to start with, the learn. So learn phase is not just we leaders in the organizations have an understanding, but the learn is, I think we need to ensure that the every worker, every blue collar worker, every employee in the organization understands digital, because that's where a lot of those ideas will start coming in on how to adopt the solutions, and what kind of use cases where the solutions should be adopted. And then even the acceptance also will be better if there is a good digital capabilities we see exist at every small level of the organization. Also, next step becomes the evaluate, which again comes the doing some level of an assessment of the current infrastructure, current processes, current level of a technology that's being used, and also the current level of a cost, how the costs are happening, which area the cost is more, and then basically build the roadmap, which is the architect part of it. So build a roadmap that addresses those findings from the assessments, and have the roadmap based on that, and that's where the I think the more powerful plan will come up, which will address to the long-term needs of the organization. And final step is the deliver, which is more about ways to deploy the solutions, and that could be working with your regular large tech partners, but there is also thoughts of leveraging the startup ecosystem there, because once you kind of work with both, then that's where a lot of those innovation needs and the customization needs can also be handled. So that's the framework. I thought maybe I'll share it with you, which I found it pretty interesting. Now, from the digitization journey point of view, I think this would be not a very new thing for you all. I mean, you all are kind of leaders in this space, but just to summarize the thought here, from a digitization point of view, I think the step-by-step journey, this remains same, and I think should be good for all, is to start with the digital roadmap, which I just kind of said earlier from the lead framework. So that basically will always be a help, rather than starting with the challenges that I am currently facing and then making a plan to address those challenges with the digital. So I think that's the one thought, but contrary, the suggestion is that, I mean, always it will be good to have a structured digital roadmap and then start the digital journey. And the next step should be the focus on the building the digital infrastructure rather than getting into the specific solution. So first, the step should be ensure that the whole digital infrastructure is in place. After that, the deployment of the solution becomes simpler. And when you're deploying the solutions, I know it's a long list, so that's where doing a POC of the different solutions will be helpful. This will help you in gaining more confidence, and then also a good assessment of the ROI, and then finally the scale part of it. So start small, but the scale fast. And I think what I'm sharing here is a not very unique. We all are doing it, but just a kind of more of a reminder just to all. Now, this is a slide I just thought of and sharing it with you. This is more about, as I was saying earlier, so there are from a large company's point of view, we have seen every company has their own tech partners and large companies, but the suggestion is that, I mean, along with the large companies, also leverage those tech SMEs and the startups also, because that's where then holistically their deployment plan can be created. So the way to kind of bifurcate these projects could be like, there is always a highway kind of projects which are more of an enterprise level projects. That's where the large tech partners, I think, will be more impactful. So kind of have the large companies like tech companies help you on the enterprise level projects. But then once these enterprise level projects are there, infrastructure is there, and then when it comes to these specific challenges and the specific solutions, that's where I think it become highly valued if we can also start leveraging these startups also. So which basically we call it as a byline project. So that could be a way to bring together holistically different levels of a solution provider and address the challenges that exist at a different level. So that's the one suggestion. Now, we all know about benefits of the startup working with the startups, and this is just a kind of a quick summary of it, why we should work with the startups. And we have all seen that when it comes to the innovation, startups are definitely, I mean, they don't come with a process package. So that where a lot of those customization and bringing in the new ways, new thought process, R&D, and then bringing it new things. I think startups are the masters of it. So that's where it will always help. From a flexibility point of view also, you will always find startups as a lot more flexible. And then we have affordability. The amount of risk that is there in working with the startups are low, because considering you're saying that we are doing POC, so it is always good to kind of, and at least when we are doing POC, start with the startups, because the risk will be low, the budgets zone will be low, and then a lot of those iterations also can be done through that. And then once the POC is completed, and then we are convinced that the solution will work or technology will work, at that stage of the time, the decision can always be taken that for a scaling point of view, then where to go. But at least what I'll say, especially for the POC, it will be good to kind of leverage the startup ecosystem as much as possible. And now coming to just quickly about, I'll just brief you on what we do. So from a NASSCOM's, basically the center was set up at Gandhinagar. The center is set up with support from Ministry of Electronics and IT and the state governments. And the whole objective was to accelerate the adoption of digitization in the manufacturing sector. And then what we aim to do is bring together the whole ecosystem together, where manufacturing companies, both the large and the MSMEs, work closely with the tech solution providers, which is the tech companies, the tech SMEs, and also the startups. And then also we kind of can bring in the researchers also as part of this ecosystem, because there are a lot of great ideas that always comes in the research organization. So if you can bring those research ideas and give it to the solution providers or to the industry, then there is a lot of innovation that can happen a lot more. So that's what we do. So we do a lot of thought leadership sessions, which we keep doing it. There is a huge focus on the startup, building the startup ecosystem. So basically we are connected with a lot of large startups who are working in this industry 4.0 domain. There are we also run an acceleration program for the startups, so that any startup who has a matured solution and then right level of a product and then looking to further help in the scaling, then that's where our program helps. And we are promoting or creating opportunities where manufacturing companies work closely with the startup ecosystem. So that's where a lot of those co-creation happens. Solution showcase, basically we keep doing a lot of demo days with different level of SMEs and the solution providers. They are showcasing their innovative solutions. So that keeps happening regularly. On the research side also, so we have a program which is Smart Manufacturing Research Enclave. It's an initiative where we bring in innovative ideas from the researchers and then get it presented to the industry for the possible adoption. So that's a quick summary of what we do. Now coming up to the why we are here all together. So it's basically the culmination of 3 months of an exhaustive effort that has happened. Now this is a program, Manufacturing Innovation Challenge is a program that we are running with an aim to drive, to basically support the innovations in the large manufacturing industries by working with the startups. So this program started about 2.5 years back. So it's 5 editions were completed earlier. Now this is the 6th edition, which is getting completed today. And under this program, so the large manufacturing company give us their complex use cases which needs innovation, and those use cases basically we post it as a challenge to the startups, and then when startup applies, it goes through a couple of months of a rigorous evaluation process, and it's really tough. There during those process, so 2 months, there is mentors are there who guide to the startup on the requirements side of it, and also any question that comes up on the solution point of view, a kind of guidance that given. And then finally there is a jury review where from all the applicants, the best of that, maybe say 5 to 10% of the startups, then they present it to the jury. And then finally we have those winning startups and then get rewarded. So So basically, till now, there were 21 manufacturing enterprise. Till last fifth edition had kind of an leveraged this platform. And now coming to the sixth edition, which will get completed today. So in this edition, we had three manufacturing companies who were our industry partner. And I extend deep thank you to Maruti Suzuki Innovation Team, the Gold Star team, and to Schneider Electric team for trusting this platform for your innovation needs. And I'm happy to say that so the three exciting use cases were presented to the startups for the coming up with the concept and the solution. And then so here are the timelines, and it really became very, very competitive. If you could see, just for three use cases, we had 110 startups competed for these just three use cases, and we had great support from the industry leaders also, where more than 15 leaders were part of this initiative in terms of guiding to the startups and also reviewing the solution that the startups could come up with. So there were mentoring sessions also were engaged, and then good to see that a lot of startups came forward and then took benefits of those multiple mentoring sessions also that were scheduled. And now we have kind of reached where it's 21st July, and then we will be announcing those winners. So I mean, it's really looking forward to it. And after this, so we will have those winners working with these industry partners to get the deployment done. So that's basically pretty much about the program. I highlighted about SMRC earlier, so I'll not spend much time, but essentially this is our annual initiative that happens where we invite abstracts from the researchers all across the country, from different institutes, from IITs, IICs, so every NIT. So researchers basically submitted their abstract, and again that also goes through a rigorous evaluation process, and best of the basically 10 top research ideas gets presented in this forum conclave, which so this time we did it physically, and again it was a great session this time. So with more than 150 people from different parts of the country came to Ahmedabad, and then it was a 2 days of a conclave where a lot of those discussions on those innovative ideas happened. And that's the way we try to bring in another way to try to bring in research in this part of the ecosystem. My last slide, Udyam. So this is a basically program that we have for the MSME industry, because while large companies have relatively made a lot of great progress because of the availability of the skills and also with the budgets and external help which is there, but for the SMEs, we are still seeing a lot of gaps, and where companies are still struggling with to come up with adopt even the basic level of solutions also. So that's where we have our program Udyam Smart Manufacturing Forum to help the MSMEs also adopt the solution, so that when MSMEs work with the large companies, there is some level of a good integration that happens. And I think it will help the overall ecosystem also, because both MSMEs and the startups and the large companies, basically, they always are suppliers or customers for each other. So that's where bringing all up to a good platform, I think, will be helpful. So the program, through this program, we help the MSMEs to build digital level of and some level of capability. We do a lot of trainings and sessions for the SMEs. We are also providing hand-holding to the SMEs also who look forward for the adoption. So basically guiding them on what solutions to take, how to deploy, what process to follow, and then which startup can help. So that's the basically hand-holding support we provide. And then once the solutions are adopted, then we help them in creating a case studies, and we promote those case studies so that more and more SMEs can learn from those from that efforts. And then it also brings visibility to the SME who basically does it. So that way it's a motivation for all the SMEs. So that's a program that we have, and again, thank you, and we look forward to all your support while we are building this ecosystem. And we have been getting good support, and we look forward to those continued support to take this initiative even to the next level. And while we keep focusing our efforts to see what best we can do to help the manufacturing ecosystem get digitized. So with that, I thank you all for joining in and listening in. And I too look forward now to the sessions that will follow on to kind of learn more. So thank you. Over to you, Devishri.